housekeeping rules regarding our virtual program today. During today's class, you will be muted and we do have your video blocked, so you are only going to see my screen. For today's program, we will be using a little bit of PowerPoint, but most of our content will be hands-on in LinkedIn using my profile to demonstrate. At the top of your screen, you should see an exit full screen option that you can use if you need to get to other things on your device, including your LinkedIn profile. Throughout today's program, you are welcome to ask questions or request that I repeat information at any time. You should see an icon at the bottom of your screen that says chat, and if you click on that, it should open up the chat window for you. You are welcome to drop your questions right in there, or you should also see an option for the Q&A feature, and you can use that if you prefer as well. Please note that any inappropriate comment will cause your immediate removal from today's program. A recording of today's class will also be available in a couple of days, so if you just want to watch and practice with that recording later, that is an option for you as well. If you would like to follow along with your own LinkedIn account today, you may, but please do keep in mind that it will be difficult for us to give one-on-one assistance or troubleshoot things on your profile during the program. I will try to take it slow just in case you're practicing along with me today during the program. Now that we have that out of the way, once again, good afternoon and welcome to our LinkedIn content creation class. My name is Jamie Eastman, and I am one of the librarians with the Plano Public Library. As we get started, I do need to remind you that I'm a librarian and not a business expert, so the information I'm sharing with you is designed to be an overview and help connect you with relevant resources that may be helpful in your job search or career journey. I will try and help as much as I can, but I'm not able to give individual one-on-one job searching or career advice. Now, our goals for today's program. We are going to look at some general tips for sharing content on LinkedIn and then explore some of the content creation options available to you. We're going to look at the short form content options like posts, as well as those visual content options like sharing photos and videos. We'll also look at some of the longer options like articles, and finally, we'll explore hashtags, visibility options, and analytics that can help you review the effectiveness of your content. Because we do have limited time today, we won't be covering anything about setting up your profile, building a resume, or job searching with LinkedIn. Now, before we dive into that content creation, just a couple of additional disclaimers. Today, we are going to focus on creating content, not sharing or reacting to existing content on LinkedIn. If you'd like more information on that, I would encourage you to review some of our previous LinkedIn courses. I will also be demonstrating content creation today through the LinkedIn desktop client. You are able to create content via the mobile app as well, but there may be some restrictions in terms of the approach and the functionality, and some features like writing articles are only available through that desktop client. And before you start creating and sharing content, I do encourage you to have details in place to make sure your profile is visible and professional. This includes choosing an appropriate profile picture, which does display with your content, having an appropriate and engaging headline, which does display as a byline under any longer content you share, like an article, as well as having complete profile information like your work history and education for users who may want to learn more about you. Let's start with some overall tips for sharing content on LinkedIn. No matter what type of content you share, it is important to keep some of these best practices in mind. First, you want to be authentic and intentional. Any content you create should match your voice, your brand, and your overall objectives on LinkedIn. It's a good idea to base your content on your knowledge, industry experience, or personal observations. Keep in mind that most users will also want content that either answers their questions or provides useful information. They're not looking for content that sells products and services. Next, you'll want to acknowledge engagement and encourage conversation. Creating content on LinkedIn is about increasing your online presence and building your brand. And to do that, you need to engage with your audience. So, answer questions that other users have for you. Respond to their comments, even if it's just thanking them for sharing their perspective. If you see that certain types of content get more engagement for you, then it's a good idea to focus there. With that in mind, consider presenting a mix of content and elements. LinkedIn offers several content creation options, which we'll look at in more detail during today's class. But as you plan your content, think about having a mixture of those short and long options and different elements like photos or links that can enhance your message. That variety is what keeps your content appealing. And when your content is appealing, people are going to keep coming back to see what you have to share. You'll want to use appropriate tools and promote your content and ideas. LinkedIn is a professional networking site, so you can use these tools to help others engage with your content and increase your professional reach. This can be things like using the at function to mention specific individuals if appropriate, or using relevant hashtags to get your content in front of an audience. And finally, share consistently. While there aren't any hard and fast rules about how often you should post, creating new content consistently helps your followers build a relationship and habit around your content. You want to look for the right balance between developing meaningful content and sharing regularly. And if you're just getting started, something like a planning calendar might help you organize that approach. Now, with all of those creation tips in mind, let's talk about the specifics of how to actually create your content. I'm going to go ahead and pop out of PowerPoint and share my LinkedIn profile with you instead. And we'll give that just a minute for the screen to catch up. Now, when I log into my LinkedIn profile, I'm automatically going to be sent to my news feed. And at the very top of this page, before the content in my news feed, I'm going to see that content creation box. Right up here, top, front, and center, where you see a little picture of me and a box that says start a post, try writing with AI. If you are just getting started with content creation, those pre-structured posts might be a good fit for you. This type of content will follow a specific format and have specific content guidelines, and they'll be easily created by following the content wizard. So I'm going to give you some examples of how that might work. First one we're going to talk about is adding a document, because documents are a quick way to share information or ideas that may let you work with existing content rather than creating something new. Say you have a really cool report that you want to share. You have a really cool flyer about an upcoming event. You've already got it created, and this is a way for you to share this with your network. This type of post is going to be best used for building your authority or expertise on a subject, highlighting projects or work samples, or sharing content that requires visual elements like charts or data to add value. Documents are also useful in between your posts and articles as a quick way to share additional information. And currently, LinkedIn will give you the option of sharing PowerPoint, Word, and PDF files. So when I click in the Start a Post box, it opens up the box that gives me a lot of different options. And here I would generally type in, but towards the bottom, you see I've got options for add media, create an event, celebrate an occasion, or this little plus sign that says more. When I click on that plus sign, it's going to give me a few additional options, including one that looks like a little piece of paper. That is my option to add a document. And when I click on that, it's going to walk me through the creation wizard, and it's going to tell me to choose a file. When I click on choose a file, I should be able to find something on my computer that I want to share. Just like I would if I was opening any other document on the computer, I can go through where files are located. Once I find the file that I want and click open, It's going to give me that next step. And this is going to be where I can see a preview. This particular document is 2 pages. I'll want to add some kind of title, and then I'll be able to click done. So I'm just going to call this sample document right now. When I click done, I'm going to get back to that main post window. I'll see that document preview, and I'll still have the option to add additional information by typing where it says, what do you want to talk about, where I can provide some additional context about the document that I am sharing. So if you do choose to post documents, keep in mind you'll want to include something like a meaningful title so people know why you're sharing the document. And if possible, you want it to have a pretty cover page or preview that is eye-catching to your audience. The document that I have here, not the most exciting document, it's just a block of text. But if I had a nice graphic at the top of this, that might stand out in someone's news feed to say, ooh, here's a pretty picture and some text. I want to stop and see what's happening on that content. You do want to avoid documents that are too technical or full of industry-specific language or jargon because your users are going to get lost. They're not going to spend a lot of time trying to figure out what you're talking about. They're going to get bored. They're going to move on to the next thing. With that in mind, you also want to be mindful of your length. Most LinkedIn professionals will recommend something between 8 and 25 pages of content if you want to share information without being overwhelming. And again, if you're linking a document, you want to make sure that you're linking something that really you can't share another way. If you can share it, the same information by just a picture, by just a short post, share it that way instead of linking the entire document. I'm going to go ahead and hit the little X on this box here, which is what I would do if I decided I no longer wanted to include something in this post. So if I decided this document wasn't for me or I wanted to go a different way, all I need to do is click the X. And I'm right back to my main window. And we're just going to very briefly go through some of the additional options that you have from here as well. So right next to the box that says Rewrite with AI, I do have the option to add media, which I'm not going to get into just yet because we're going to talk about visual forms on their own. I also have the option to create an event if I want to share about things that are happening. Now, events are a pretty cool way for us to share details about things that are happening online and offline that might be of interest to your network. And this is going to look a little bit different than sharing a document would because I need to provide a lot more details. So if I click on Create an Event, the first thing it's going to ask me to do is upload a cover image. It wants something fun so that people know we're having a good time. And it's not going to let me move on if I don't scroll all the way through the rest of these options. So you can choose not to upload the cover image, but if you do, go ahead and keep scrolling so that you can see the rest of the information that you need to put in. That first question is going to be whether or not this event is online or in person. What that's going to do is switch up the information that you share. Because if you are online, you're going to be choosing your event format, whether it's something hosted on LinkedIn Live or through an external event. Whereas if I'm in person and I click that bubble, it doesn't need that information because it's something that I'm going to. For whichever type of event, then you're going to put in additional information like your event name, the time zone, the start time, and if you want to include an end date and time as well, you can put that. Anytime that you see the little asterisk behind the item, that is something that is required to be able to post your event. Now, if I decide I don't want an end date and time, if I just uncheck that box, it's just going to remove that. For any in-person event, it's going to ask me things like the street address and also some optional information. Do I want to include additional information about the venue, like what floor it's on, what room number we're using? Is there an external website that I can share additional details about the event? I can go ahead and include that here. And then I can also put in a description of the event so people know what's going to happen when they come to my super cool thing. Since you're posting this on LinkedIn, you also have the option to connect to speakers. So if you are connected to someone who is going to be part of your event, say you and your colleague are putting on a seminar, you can go ahead and search for them. Let's say that I am working with my colleague Caitlin to do this event. I can go ahead and add her as a speaker on the event. Now, if I'm not connected to Caitlin, I wouldn't be able to do that. This just gives me an option to highlight the people who are going to be part of the event. Once I've put in all of my information, this little grayed out box that says next is going to pop up and turn blue. I'll be able to hit next. It's going to take me right back to that first post window that we saw where I can finalize any details and post. Now, if I decide that this is not something that I want to do just now, all I have to do is click back and discard my changes, and I'll get right back to that main post box that we were already in. Now, right next to create an event, you're going to see a little icon that looks like an award seal or a little sunburst. That is the option to celebrate an occasion. And this is a quick way to highlight new or notable events as an update to your network. And when I click on this, it's going to give me a couple of different categories. I can celebrate a project launch, a work anniversary, a job update, an educational milestone, or achieving a new certification. So let's say I want to celebrate my work anniversary. I can add a photo to that if I'd like. And once again, when I scroll down through that nice little box, if I don't want to add my own photo, I can choose one of the LinkedIn stock photos here. Then I'm going to go ahead and click next. And it's going to auto-generate some text for me. Now, if I don't like what LinkedIn put together for me, I can just as easily highlight that, delete it, and put in whatever information that I would like to share about this project, this anniversary, or the milestone that I'm celebrating. And that post will go with the text that I put, and then that nice little image that I've put when I hit that blue post button. Again, if I decide, nope, this isn't the way I want to share this, all I have to do is click on the X to get rid of it. Or if I realize that I've made a mistake in the content or want to change, say, the image, if I click on that pencil icon, I can go back and make those changes, then hit next again to get back to the screen. Next to that, you're going to see a little icon that looks like a suitcase. And this is an option for you if you are an employer to share that you are hiring. So you can do this if you have your own business or you want to share something on behalf of an employer. What you would do is select the company. So it is going to need to be somebody that you are affiliated with. It's not going to let me share a job for somebody I don't work for. So this pops up for me with the city of Plano because I work for the city of Plano. I can select that. And it's going to show me the jobs that are already on LinkedIn. I can choose the one that I want to highlight, or I can choose to create a new one. And that will let me share information about options. Now, this option is only going to show if you're currently employed by more than one organization. If you're only employed by one, you're not going to see a whole list of different places that you can choose from. The last icon on here that I'm going to talk about is all the way at the very, very end. And it's the one that looks kind of like a little person in a badge. And that is the Find an Expert option. And this is a feature that is useful for connecting with others on LinkedIn who can help with particular subject or skill needs that you might have. So what I would do here is click on this, and I would let people know what I'm looking for. So say I need help with coaching and mentoring. I am limited just to these few categories that LinkedIn currently offers. So I'm going to have to choose what's the best fit. And then I'm going to select the specific service that I want help with. Again, they're going to be things that LinkedIn has already provided. So I'm going to do my best to find something that matches. So let's say I'm looking for someone to review my resume. I can go ahead and click Resume Review. My location is going to autofill based on what my profile says. And then I have an option for the description. Again, LinkedIn is going to pre-fill this with some information. So that might be everything that I want to say, but I might want to share more details. If I'm looking for help on a particular project, I might want to share more details about the project or a link to the website where people can find more. Once I've put in all of the information that I need there, I will be able to click Done. And LinkedIn is going to format that post for me. It's going to give me some standard text. Again, I can adjust that text if I want to. And it's going to show the specific expert that I'm asking for. And then once again, just that blue post button will post the information to my news feed. Go ahead and close out of that. So those are all different options that you have as far as sharing just basic pre-structured text-based information with other users on LinkedIn. I'm going to pause here just for a second and see if we have any questions about that text-based content before we switch over to our more visual content options. All right, looks like we don't have any questions at this point, but again, if you do have any questions throughout the program, feel free to drop those into the chat or the Q&A, and we will do our very best to answer them. So let me go ahead and close out of this box here. We're going to discard this draft and pop back over to our news feed. We've talked about just those short form text-based options for sharing information, but visual options are another way for us to share information as well, because sometimes sharing a bunch of words isn't the most effective way to share the information or ideas that we want to with our network. LinkedIn is also going to offer you several visual content creation options, including photos, videos, and polls. Those are primarily going to show up under your media options. So I can get to them if I click back in the Start Writing a Post. I can get to it by clicking on the little picture icon at the bottom, right next to Rewrite with AI. But if I have not clicked on that, I can also get to it by choosing media right underneath where it says Start a Post. And it's going to get me to the same spot. And it's going to ask me to choose the information that I want to share. Once I select the photo that I want to put in, it's going to pop up and give me a preview of that information. And here's where I can make some changes and adjustments. I can go in and edit, I can crop, I can filter, I can adjust the brightness or contrast on that image to make sure that it looks the way that I want it to look. If I don't need to do anything with that, if I go, oops, that's not the image I want, I can also hit delete to get rid of that image and choose to upload another image. If it is an image that has a person in it, I can use that little person icon in the center to tag other users in it so that they show up as part of the content. And I can say, oh, this is my friend Anna. She's part of this. I can add her in to the tag. If I realize I don't want anyone tagged, all I have to do is click back on that and use the X next to her name and remove that tag. And then finally, I have the alternative text option where it says ALT. If I click on that, it's going to give me a text box to describe this image. And what this does is provides the words that a screen reader or other software would use if they were sharing your content with someone who was visually impaired. So if you do choose to use this as an accessibility aid to describe your content to others, you want to be as specific as possible about what is actually on the screen. So if it's a picture of a black cat in front of a white wall, you want to say a black cat in front of a white wall. Because if you just say a cat, then your user doesn't know, is the cat black? Is the cat white? Is the cat orange? Is the cat striped? So the more specific you are, the better it is to describe to someone who doesn't have the benefit of being able to see the image clearly. If I decide that I want to add another image, I can do that as well. I'm just going to click Add, select another image, and you will see additional image files pop up. And it'll give me the same options to edit, tag, and add that alt text as I had on the first one. And I can also choose to reposition and say, I want this image to be the first image by just clicking on the little arrows to move them back and forth, make any changes that I need to. Once I have everything that I want in my photos, I would go ahead and click next. And then you're going to see that I have the option to put some descriptive text to say why I'm sharing these images, what they're about, any hashtags that I want to add before I choose post. Now, if you do choose to share photos, they are a great way to share short and impactful statistics, educational infographics, or other content, or highlights or announcements. Although you can always post those photos with the additional text at the top, the most impactful photos are going to be those that don't require additional context because your network gets all the information they need by looking at the photo. Sharing video content is going to work much the same way, except for you'll have some additional options to add a video caption file and other accessibility aids. But again, let me close out of that, discard our drafts. We would still get there by choosing media and then locating the file that we wanted to on our computer. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll through my news feed just for a minute to give you some examples of what those look like in practice. So you'll see from this first post here, she has chosen to include that image, but she has also included additional thoughts above that. And you can see that the image is the primary focus of the post, and I can choose to keep scrolling past without reading any of the additional content. Or if I want to see the rest of the content that's shared, you'll see those three dots and more. I can click on that to see the additional text that she has shared. Keep in mind when you're putting together your content, not everyone wants to click through to more. So you want to make sure that whatever you have in those first line or two lines gives everything that you want to share, just in case someone doesn't click all the way through to your additional content. This next post here is actually an ad from the Wall Street Journal, so it is promoted content, not somebody that I follow, but you'll see the video is linked, playing, and then there is some additional text at the top to share what that is about. And you'll notice as I go through my newsfeed, the majority of the posts that I'm seeing have both that text and that visual element. There's very little that's showing up just as text-based content, and that is because having those visual elements makes it a little easier for your users to find information that stands out. It breaks it up, and it's not just word after word after word that they're looking at. All right, I'm going to go back up to the top, and we're going to talk about another option that we have with our visual options, and that is the option to create a poll. If you want to quickly gather opinions or insights, a poll might be a good option because it combines ideas or questions you might pose in a short post with that more visual medium. It also allows people to quickly engage with your content. It has that built-in reply. At the very least, they can go ahead and vote on the poll. They might share additional thoughts in the comments. So to do that, I'm looking for the little icon that looks like 3 bars in a bar chart. That is our Create a Poll icon. When I click on that, it's going to pop up the poll creation wizard. And the first thing that I need to do is figure out what question I want to ask. So maybe my question today is just, what is your favorite book genre? Once I've put in my question, then I'm going to need to put in the options for my poll. For a poll to work, you have to have at least 2 choices. At the very least, you're going to have a yes or no question. LinkedIn is going to limit you to 4 choices. So let's say I'm going to choose romance, and I'm going to choose science fiction. If I want more than my 2 choices, I will just choose add option, and it'll give me another option. I can say mystery, and we'll just say true crime is my last option. Once I've got my 4 options in, it's not going to pop up and give me any more add additional options once I get to 4. So that's how I know that I've maxed out the number of choices that I can have on this poll. Next thing I'm going to do is choose how long that poll is available. The default is going to be 1 week, but I can choose to do a day, 3 days, or 2 weeks. Let's say I just want this to be short and sweet. I'm going to do 3 days, and then I will be able to create my poll. Now, do keep in mind, LinkedIn does have some content guidelines, so you are not able to put requests related to politics, medical information, or other sensitive personal information. If you were to do that, LinkedIn may flag your content, block your profile, or remove that content from being posted. Once I click done, I'm going to get back to my post screen where I can add some additional information. I can see that I have my poll options. I can see how many votes, how many days are left, and I'll be able to view results as people vote on my poll. And once again, down in that bottom corner, the blue post button will light up when it is ready for me to post. And that is just a great way for you to be able to engage with users a little bit differently and see. And you can even use this for something like, what type of content should I share? Do you want to see more videos? Do you want to see more dog stories? Do you want to see more of my project samples? And it can be a way to feel out your network and see what is interesting to them. All right, do we have any questions on our visual content creation options before we move on to those original long form options?
Uh, I don't see any questions, Jamie. I have a question. Okay. On your page, you had a post that had a sign up option. So, under what uh, does that fall? Like, if I'm going to give a class, sign up for that class, uh, what options does that kind of post fall under, June?
So if you have something that you want people to sign up for your event,
Yes.
okay, let's pop back over to creating an event. And unfortunately, LinkedIn does not give me a lot of options to sign up in the event that I create on LinkedIn itself. Now, if I was doing it through an external event, I could add an external event link in where I can share that registration information because I'll have that link required. If it is an in-person event that I want people to register for, when I have my in-person event and I put in all of the information, I can include that external event link and then put in my description, please register in advance for this link at the link above for the event, but I don't have a way in LinkedIn itself to be able to require the registration because it's not done on LinkedIn, if that makes sense.
It does. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. All right. So we talked about the pre-structured options that LinkedIn gives us. We've talked about some visual options. Now we're going to talk about our original content creation options. And these are the things that you can use when you are feeling particularly creative, you want to share your thoughts, and you don't want to be limited just to the ideas or the structure that LinkedIn has provided in something like sharing an event or creating a poll. The first option is going to be just doing that original post. And if I was doing that, all I would need to do is just start typing my content in the box. I can type in anything that I want to share. I can add in any hashtags, any comments. But as I write, I do want to keep in mind that I want to avoid those large blocks of text or content. So I can keep my text visually appealing by using lists, using emojis instead of bullet points, or avoiding linking too much content because that's going to direct people away from my thoughts and ideas. If I say, check out this super cool link, ideally they're going to click on the link, but now they're no longer looking at my profile or my thoughts. So if I have a lot of content or links to share, an article or other type of post might be more effective. What I'm really doing with this box is just sharing my own thoughts as effectively as possible that people can read as they go past. Now, the other option that I'm going to have is to write an article, which gives me the most freedom and formatting. These are longer pieces that are best for more reflective content that give you the opportunity to clearly articulate your thoughts or perspectives, share insights or expertise, and build your brand. And within an article, you can also include images, media, and links, as well as that text that you have. Articles also include the option to share your draft with others prior to posting if you want to get a second opinion. So to get to that option, instead of clicking in the box to say write a post, I'm going to go over on the right-hand side and click Write Article. I'm going to go ahead and click Get Started to clear that box out of the way. And you'll see I am in an individual article box now, and it looks a little bit different than my newsfeed. I have a lot more options. I can choose a style, so I can have headings and subheadings. I can bold text. I can italicize text. I can add in bullet points or numbered lists. I can put in links. I can put in images. I can upload a cover image. And then once I scroll down, I'll be able to get into the additional content. So the first thing that I'm going to have to do is create a title. And maybe I'm going to call this My Favorite Books just because it's easy to put in. And then I will be able to start writing my article. And I can just type all day long about different things. And I can add in and I can keep typing. And I can go, oh, hey, bulleted list would make this look really good. Let me click on that and say book 1, book 2, book 3, and I can keep going for quite a while on this. Now, if I do choose to share things this way, I want to make sure that I've got a strong headline. It's going to grab people's attention. So instead of just saying my favorite books, I want to do something that takes a bold stand or position in a debate or provides a sneak peek of the content, like a how-to or a top 10 list. So my favorite books could be anything, but if I told you top 10 true crime novels, I know right away if I'm interested in true crime, this is a list I want to look at. Let me go ahead and click through. You also want to commit to the length of your article if you do choose to write this way, because you are going to direct people out of your newsfeed and into your article. You need to make it worth their time. The recommended length is going to be between 500 and 1,000 words. So because you are putting more text, you want to make sure to make use of your formatting options like headlines, your lists, your links, and images that help break up your content to make it accessible and appealing as well. Now, once I have created my draft, I've got some options. I can preview how it looks. If I click on preview, that's going to show me what it looks like to everybody else, and I can see, ooh, I've got some formatting errors, I've got some typos. Okay, Let me go back to edit to make any changes that I need to. I can also have it duplicated. If this was a format that worked really well for me, I can duplicate another draft to look just like it and go in and change the text. Once I hit next, I will be able to tell my network what my article is about and why they want to read it, any hashtags that I want to add, and then I will publish, and that will put that article live in my news feed as well. If I'm not quite ready, I can also keep this in my drafts and come back to it later. If I have something that's scheduled, I'll be able to see the scheduled articles that I have in my scheduled, or I'll be able to see articles that I've published in my published tab as well. Right now, I've got a couple of different drafts. I'm going to go ahead and open up this one just to show you what a longer article might look like. And this I just borrowed from something else that I published, but I've got an image, I've got a title, I've got subheadings, I've got links. So now when I preview, I can see that it looks much more polished and looks like something that someone might want to read through and learn more about. Now, when I'm looking at that draft, here where you see share draft, that's going to be where I can copy that URL and share with someone else before I publish in case I want to get feedback. Does this look good? Do you see any typos? Does the content make sense? I can just copy that URL and share it with others to get that feedback. And then when I'm ready, choose publish. All right, that covers the major forms of content creation on LinkedIn. So before we wrap up today, I do want to spend some time talking about additional tools available to you to help promote that content or see how your content is doing. And the first one is going to be your hashtags. Anytime that you are creating a post, creating an article, sharing content on LinkedIn, you will have the option to put a hashtag in. And that is a way to bring related content together and increase the visibility of your content. On LinkedIn, your hashtags are going to be searchable. They can also be followed, which brings relevant content into your news feed, and you can use them to establish your credibility or expertise, to reach users who value your insights, or even start conversations about shared interests. You're going to want to choose hashtags that are relevant to your specific content so that people really find the things that are relevant to their needs or interests. Now, if you are going to use hashtags, a few things to keep in mind. First, make sure you use them correctly. To be able to do that, you're going to want to include that hashtag or pound symbol, and then you're going to put whatever your hashtag is. It's going to be a keyword or phrase that does not include spaces, punctuation, symbols, or emojis. So maybe I'm doing leadership. So I could do hashtag leadership. I could use the library's hashtag and do more than books. If I do more than books, though, I'm doing it as 3 words all run together, no spaces in it. You'll also want to consider using a range of those broad and niche hashtags to increase exposure of your content to relevant users. So leadership can be a very, very big overarching theme that might apply to a lot of people, but hashtag more than books is very specific to Plano Public Library. So that's going to take me back to that Plano Public Library audience. Finally, you can follow hashtags to easily find content you care about and see what others are posting about this topic as well. So let me go ahead and close out of this draft, and we'll see if we can find a hashtag on someone's content that we can use. And right now we are just seeing anytime that you see this pop up in blue, like the city of Garland pops up in blue, that means that someone has linked to another person using that app feature so that you can see them in the content as well. But here with this post, we've got some different hashtags. And you'll see these are going to turn blue as well. So they are searchable. So they've got Live Green in Plano, the City of Excellence, and Texas Recycles Day. If I were to click on Texas Recycles Day, I'm going to be able to see different posts with that same hashtag. And if I scroll through these and see, hey, this is content that I'm really, really interested in, what I would do is click that blue follow button to follow the hashtag so that that content shows up in my news feed regularly. All right. Next thing we're going to talk about is the visibility of your content because LinkedIn does allow different options to control the visibility of that content. And one way is determining if you want your profile to include connections or followers. Connections are relationships that you have on LinkedIn, generally based on knowing the other person and some level of mutual trust, whereas followers are LinkedIn users who can see your content, but you don't see theirs. So if I've chosen to connect with you, I'm going to see your content on my homepage, and you're going to see my content on your homepage. If I have chosen to just follow someone, I am going to see their content, but they are not going to see any of mine. And that's a way for me to share content, but keep my newsfeed clear of unnecessary clutter from others. Combined with your privacy settings, it can also help you keep some information about your profile private as well. So to get to those settings, what we're going to do is go up to the top right corner and look for the button that says Me. If you have a profile picture on your account, you're going to see a tiny picture of yourself right above that button. When we click on that, we are then going to choose Settings and Privacy. And that's going to open up the Settings and Privacy window for us. And we are going to choose Visibility over on the left-hand side, that third option down. And here I have all kinds of options for the visibility of my profile and network. And if I keep scrolling down this page, I'm going to see the visibility of my LinkedIn activity. And at the very end of that list, I'm going to see an option for followers. When I click on that, I'm going to see a couple of options as far as who can follow me on LinkedIn, as well as the option to make follow primary. If I turn this on, which all I have to do to turn that on is just click that little slider, that means on my profile, instead of saying connect, it's going to say follow. Anyone can follow unless I have chosen to make it just my connections. So that lets people follow my content, see what's going on without me connecting with them. If they wanted to connect with me, they would have to look for more options and then choose connect. If I turn that option back off, then connecting with me is going to be the primary way that you would get my content. And go ahead and pop back over to my newsfeed because you also have some additional options to control comments on your posts as well. So once I have created a post, I will have the option to say whether or not people can comment on my post, and I will have the option to disable or remove comments on my post as well. So let's see if I can pull up an old post to demonstrate that. Go over to my analytics. Have not posted recently, so it takes me a little bit of additional time to get into those past things. And it is not going to be very helpful since I have not done anything recently. But if I were to go in and see that I had an inappropriate comment, I would be able to report that comment or remove that comment. If I was scrolling through my newsfeed and saw that somebody else's comment was inappropriate as well, if I were to click on those three dots, I could choose the little flag that says report, and I could report comments as inappropriate as well. And that is a really helpful way to help make sure that LinkedIn stays a welcoming space for everyone. If you see something that is just not appropriate, to let LinkedIn know this is not appropriate, let's get it taken down, and let's make sure that everybody's following those community standards. Now, as you may have noticed when we were looking at our content creation, we do have the option for performance and analytics. And from our profile, we're going to see some basic information up front. When I scroll back up to the very top, I'm going to very quickly see my profile viewers and the option to view all analytics on the left-hand side. Now, if I have posted recently, I'm going to see a lot more options here because I'm going to see my current post impressions, how it's trending. If I haven't, then it's going to look like it does right now, and you're not going to see a lot, but we can do view all analytics to see some additional information in here. And through my analytics, I'm going to be able to see things like how my post is trending. If I had posted in the last week, I would have a number here to see how many people have looked at that post, how many people have spent some time on it, how many people have looked at my profile. I can see I've had 4 people in the last 90 days. How many people are following me? How many times have I showed up in searches? And I will be able to see things by scrolling down. I'll also have that weekly sharing tracker as well. And this is going to be really helpful if you're trying to build that habit of content creation on LinkedIn. You'll be able to see week to week how many posts, how many comments, how many things have I contributed to, so that I can make sure that I'm meeting the goals that I have for myself. I'm going to go back to my profile just for a second and see if I can pull from my featured content to show what this would look like on something that you had posted. So when you have posted something, when you get to that post and you scroll down to the bottom, you're going to be able to see some additional analytics about it. You're going to be able to see the number of reactions that you have. You're going to be able to see the number of comments that you have. And then you'll be able to see the individual comments down there as well. So you'll start seeing more analytics the more that you post and share. Your analytics are going to depend on the type of content that you're sharing. So what you may see for posts is going to be different than what you see for articles. But in general, you're going to be seeing things like the number of times your content displayed on screen for at least 3 seconds, the number of times someone has clicked through to view your content if you've posted an article, or the number of times that someone has watched your video. If you've posted a video, you're going to see things like the highest number of viewers who watched your live content, or the total minutes of your video that was watched, or the total number of views, which is generally going to be measured as someone watching for 3 seconds or longer. LinkedIn does have specific rules about when and for how long your analytics are available, so you will not be able to see this information forever. When you have things that are 2, 3, 4 years old, you're not going to see the analytics on them any longer. And to get more information about that, you can check out LinkedIn's help page to see their specific analytics and tracking. Now, one final note on that, you may wish to consider as part of your evaluation process the quality of conversations you're starting or contributing to. Think about what type of interaction you're getting from your followers. While your numbers are always helpful in seeing that I've gotten 25 people to look at this post is a very useful metric, they don't always give a complete picture of how my content is resonating. If I compare that with 20 people sent me an email about my product after 25 people looked at my post, that gives me a better idea of how successful that content was that I was sharing. All right, that does bring us to the conclusion of our content on LinkedIn content creation today. But before we go, I do want to share just a couple of additional resources with you. So I'm going to go ahead and pop back over to PowerPoint for just a minute. As I'm doing that, feel free to drop any last questions in the Q&A or the chat, and we can cover them as we wrap up as well. We do have one more program remaining in this LinkedIn series, which is going to be our LinkedIn learning class. That's going to be offered in 2 weeks on December 3rd at 3 p.m. That class will go over how to access LinkedIn Learning for free with your library card, as well as some of the additional tools that you have available, like linking your course completion certificates back to your existing LinkedIn profile. Now, if you would like more one-on-one assistance or have particular questions for library staff, a book a librarian appointment may be appropriate for you. These are one-on-one appointments that are scheduled for 30 minutes at a time with a chance to go over your specific questions. Each session is going to be tailored to your specific needs and is compatible with your schedule. You can fill out that form online and let us know which location is most convenient for you. We do also have virtual options available as well. You can also access LinkedIn Learning tutorials for more information about using LinkedIn and its features. That is going to be available for free with your Plano Library card and is accessible from our website. And you do have access to our program recordings on the PPL YouTube channel. You can find this class and many others. There'll be several different playlists, or you can search content. So if you are ever unable to make a live class, do check out those recordings as well as an additional option. All right.
Hi,
Do we have
Jamie.
any last questions before we go?
Yes. Uh, there's an attendee who's asking the question. Hi, Jamie. How can we create a profile banner as shown on your profile?
Okay, let me go ahead and pop back over to my profile. And we can go through that very quickly. So that is going to be something that is accessible from your profile. When you open up your profile page, you should either see a blank filler in here, or you should see an image that you have created. And in the top right corner, you should see a little tiny pencil icon. When you click on that, that is going to be the option for your background photo. And it is going to give you the option to crop, filter, adjust, or in my case, change photo. And I'm going to go ahead and click change photo just so you can see what that process would look like. And I'm going to have the choice to upload a photo or to add a custom image. So the custom images are going to be some images that LinkedIn has put together. You can select one of those if any of them resonate with you, or you can choose to create your own profile background as well. The one that I have on my profile was created using Canva and free graphics. And it's just a template that I put in the information that I wanted, and I went ahead and uploaded that photo. Once you have uploaded the photo, then you have the option to crop, apply any filters if you want to play with the color a little bit. You can see what each of those look like. You can adjust the brightness, the contrast, and then all you'll do is hit apply to put those changes onto your profile. So you'll have that in addition to your profile picture. And that's something that you can change as often or as little as you like. You can include information like your name, your job title. If you have an email that you want to display, that is an option. If you have a website for your small business, you can put in information like that. Or you can just choose to have like an image of a product photo that really highlights what you do. You can put that as a background image as well. Do we have any other questions before we wrap up today?
Uh, None so far, Jamie. And I've also put in the links in the chat for all the Book the Librarian, LinkedIn Learning, and Libraries YouTube page in the chat.
Wonderful. All right, so we do have all of those links available in the chat for you as well. And if you have any other questions that come to mind, I did put my contact information up on the screen as well. Feel free to reach out after today's program or complete that Book a Librarian request, and we are happy to connect you with any information and resources that you may need. With that, I will thank you very much for joining us for this afternoon's program. I hope that the information has been helpful for you and that you have a wonderful rest of your day.